So you have this quadratic formula. I already told you how to plug in A, B, and C.
I was writing that down. Sorry.
It's right here.
Oh, cool.
X squared minus 8x plus 15. So this one is already, it's called standard form. Let's look at that. It means everything from the left side is equal to 0. So A is what?
0, 1.
1. Right? This is 1x squared. B is
8.
negative 8. And C is 15. Okay? And then, that's why I like this. It's always the same way. You just plug this in. So negative B. Okay, what do you do when it's negative B if B is already negative? Yeah, you make it positive. So negative B would be positive 8 plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4A, so times A times C, all over 2A. So that's the formula. That's how you plug it into the formula. Before we start trying to simplify it, I want to show you one little thing. The biggest mistake that students usually make is right here, the square. Because right now, if you type this in, like I have it, negative 8 squared, you will get negative 64. However, it should be positive 64. Because what happens anytime you square something? It's positive. So there's two ways to do this. Either put the negative 8 in parentheses. You have to. You're going to use your calculator. Or, since anything squared is always a positive number, you could just, that messed that up, you could just leave the negative off and just make it 8 squared. Since it's going to be positive anyway. Okay? So, what you need to do is simplify what's in the square root. Someone said, what is 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 15?
Just equals the word.
What's the whole thing?
4.
4. Now, all your problems are going to be the same up to this point. Right? The only difference will be how you write your answers after you get to this point right here. If it's like this one, where it's a perfect square, it has a square root, then you need to completely simplify it down to 2 answers. So that's what we're going to do on this one. So I'm going to have 8 plus or minus, what is radical 4? 2 all over 2. And then we've been doing this all week. When you have plus or minus, you have 2 answers. First you do 8 plus 2 divided by 2. So it's 8 plus 2. Divide that by 2. You get 5. And then 8 minus 2 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is. Your 2 answers, 5 and 3. Is that bad?
No.
No. Okay. Any questions? We're only going to do 4 of these, so that's 1. Okay, so number 2. 2 minus 2x equals 3x squared. Yes?
You got to subtract 3.
Oh yeah. So that's when I asked that. What my first thing I need to do is get everything over to one side. So I'll move the 3x over to the left. I have negative 3x squared minus 2x plus 2. So A is negative 3, B is negative 2, C is positive. Okay, so we just plug everything into the formula. So negative B is what?
2.
Which is positive 2, because B was already negative, plus or minus square root of B squared, so again, let's just leave off the negative, which is 2 squared minus 4 times A times all over 2 times A. can put that, but you have to put it in parentheses. And since when you square something, it's going to be positive anyway, you can just ignore the negative. Anytime you square something, it's going to be positive. So if you leave off the negative sign, it won't make a difference. You're less likely to make a mistake. Okay, so work out just what goes in the radical. 2 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times 2. You can do all that and calculate at the same time.
Do you roll it up?
Yes.
Okay.
Not negative 20.
Positive.
No.
Positive. What? Keep guessing.
Stop guessing. Did anyone try it and actually get something? It's positive 28.
Sure it is.
4 plus 24. You can use a calculator. That's what you use it, I guess. Alright, so this one, does 28 have a square root? You know, a perfect square root? No. When it isn't a perfect square, we're just going to simplify it. Reduce the radical we can. So radical 28, what's a perfect square that goes into 28? 4. So it would be 2 radical 7 over negative 6. Okay. You won't be able to simplify this one down to just one answer, or two answers, sorry. One answer with a plus or minus. Okay, when you get here, the only thing you can do, ignore the radical. What can you divide 2, 2, and negative 6 by? 2. So I have 1 plus or minus 1 radical 7, or just radical 7, over negative 3. Just dividing everything by 2. Any further than that.
Why did you divide by 20?
How did I get 1?
I divided by
To divide everything by 2. You didn't, I mean, the other one you got 2 answers. That's about as simple as you get. Other questions? We're going to do another one kind of like that. Sort of. Got it. R minus 3 times R minus plus 5 equals 2. Any guesses about what to do first?
Foil.
Foil. Yes. R squared plus 5R minus 3R minus 15 equals like term of R squared plus 2R. What would my constant be?
Minus 13.
Negative 17. Bring the 2 over so you can subtract 2. It would be minus 17. So what is A? Right. 1. B is
2.
2. C is negative 7. Okay, so x equals negative b, negative 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. All over 2. See, I'm doing this every time, just simplifying everything but the radical. What do you get inside the radical this time? What? 17? 72? Is that a perfect square? Nope. What's the biggest perfect square that goes into 72? 36. Good. So the square root of 36 is 6. Can you do anything else? What? 5 by 2. Don't divide the radical by 2. You've already simplified the radical. We're now simplifying everything else. So it's negative 1 plus or minus 3 radical 2 over 1 or just over. Alright, divide it by 2. Oh, you still think this is hard? Gotta be careful with your signs plugging into the formula. I think what you'll like better than yesterday is you don't have to sit there and think about, okay, what comes next? Now what do I do? I mean, it's just plug it in the formula every time. Okay, one more like this, and then I have something else to show you. X times 3x plus 4 equals negative 2. Distribute. Get 3x squared plus 4x equals negative 2. Okay, so 3x squared plus 4x plus 2 equals 0. A, B. You can try it. See how far you can get by yourself. Oh, you can put the paper over that. You can put that. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay, see if you got that far. That far. Anyone have trouble getting that far? Do you have any questions? Okay, so what happens when you have a negative in the radical? You have an I. Good. So we'll take out an I from radical negative 8. Now, if this had been like negative 4, radical negative 4, it'd be 2i. Radical negative 9 would be 3i. But since it's 8, we just have to try to simplify it. It's a perfect square that goes to 8. 4, that leaves with 2, radical 2. X equals, can I divide all these by something? 2. So negative 2 plus or minus I radical 2 over. Like 3 or hard.
The jelly bean.
No, it's jelly bean. Sure. Any questions? That's our 4 main problems. You do this? Okay, I am going to show you one more thing. You're often asked to do the project formula, to do a part of the formula called the discriminant. You don't really have to write all this down. You can just write what the discriminant is. It is the inside of the radical. Okay, it can't be used to find x, solve the equation, but you can use the discriminant to tell the number and type of solutions. This is on page 48. It's in this section of your book. I mean, I copied it down here for it from there. So depending on what the discriminant is, you can see what type of solution. So I gave you an example, like number 1. Example 1 that we did was positive and it was a perfect square. And so we had 2 rational solutions. So that means you get down to like 5 and 6, 5 and -3, something like that. When it's positive and not a perfect square, so that was like example 2 and 3, that's where you end up with the rational solutions with the radicals in the answer. The only one I didn't give you an example of is when you end up with 0 in the radical. So if there was 0 in the radical, you might have one of these in your homework. You'd be working it out and you end up like that. Well, what's the square root of 0? 0. So that part will just go away and you would just have whatever that is. Okay, so that's why it's one solution when it's 0. And then the last one, number 4, was a negative, and you end up with a complex solution, which is imaginary. So we're going to do 2 examples like this, where we just find the discriminant, and then we're going to tell what type of solutions we have. So this is even easier. You don't have to work it all the way out. So the discriminant is just b squared minus 4ac. B is 70, A is 25, C is 49. You could just use a calculator and then hopefully you have what do you get. Someone said 0. We end up with 0 is your discriminant. So since 0, what kind of solutions? 1 rational. And like I said, this is in your book. You don't have to memorize it. That's all you do. Okay, so you try this one. Last one. See if you can figure out the discriminant, and then we'll look back at the table and see what type of solutions. Ooh. Yes? Negative. It should have been negative 10 squared, but remember I told you to know this is negative. So 10 squared minus 4 times 3 times 6. If you put the negative, that's fine, but you have to. Okay, so negative 80 is negative, so it's, you don't have to write all of that, just 2 complex solutions. What's complex mean? It doesn't mean difficult. Complicated. What's it mean? Complex solutions. What? What? No? If I say that that means it's got 2 complex solutions, what kind of solutions will it have? Yes, I know. What's that mean? With I. With I. Thank you. It just means we'll have imaginary numbers. Here's your assignment. Other various information.
Hi, Dave.